Karen Culver, and I'm so glad that you came for this workshop, which I call Lists and Links and Books. Oh my. The purpose of the workshop is to give an overview of the Lists and Links page on the Spellbinders website. The purpose of the page is to give you access to thousands of folktales. I know you don't need thousands. Give you access to thousands, but allow you tools to narrow your search to just the one or two or few that you want to add to your repertoire. So that's what the purpose is. And your handout is, I couldn't afford color for your front page, but the first page is a screenshot of the links and lists page on our website. So don't worry, you'll be able to see it in beautiful color when you log on to that. And you won't need notes because everything is in the handout, including a bibliography of the sources for the story I'm about to tell you right now. Welcome. By the way, you are second graders. You are second graders. Hi, Jim. So, boys, and Indonesia is a country in the Pacific Ocean with thousands and thousands of... Is there a problem?
Yeah, she's spinning.
You gotta sit down.
Oh, blocking the view. Okay. Take a seat, Jim. There's plenty over here, too. Indonesia is a country with many, many islands. In fact, some of them are small and some of them are very large. And some of the largest ones have names like Bali, Sumatra, Java, or Borneo. And our story today is called No Tigers in Borneo. Before I tell you the story, there's two words I want to tell you about. One is the word Raja. In Indonesia, a king or a leader might be called a Raja. So that's in the story. And there's an animal in the story that you might not know. It's a mouse deer.
Oh, jeez.
Now, mouse deer is about this size in real life, maybe even smaller, and their legs are as skinny as pencils. Can you imagine that, boys and girls? These legs on my stuffed animal are bigger than the real mouse deer. But she is very smart and very quick to think. And that's why in many of the folk tales from Indonesia, mouse deer, or Kanchil the mouse deer, is the main character. I'll show you a map. I know I usually have a globe of Indonesia so you can see some of the bigger islands that we'll be talking about in our story today. My sources for the story are Alice Terada's The Magic Crocodile and Other Indonesian Folktales, and Adele Delu's Indonesian Legends and Folktales. And they're on the back of your bibliography. Long, long ago, the Raja of all tigers of Java noticed that the other tigers on his island were growing thin. He called his second in command, and that tiger came, and he said, I have decided to demand the Raja of Borneo provide our tigers with food. If they refuse, I will declare war on their island. He plucked his whisker. He said, take this whisker as proof of my superior size and strength that I would win the war. The second in command, the tiger, said, I will deliver I will deliver your message and the whisker. Yeah, let's turn off our phones. Okay. I will deliver your message and the whisker. And take 2 tigers with you to deliver this important message. The messenger and 2 other tigers went to the edge of their island. They went into the Java Sea and they swam across the sea. Can you swim, boys and girls, like a tiger? It was a long way. They swam all day. When they got there, the tiger had been clenching the whisker in his teeth so it wouldn't get lost. And when he got out onto the shore, he laid the royal whisker down so that he could announce their arrival with a roar. Can you roar like a tiger? Yes, exactly like that. And the animals and the birds on Borneo had never heard that sound before because there were no tigers on Borneo. And they were so frightened by that loud, frightening noise of 3 animals roaring, they immediately wanted to hide or run away. Monkeys scrambled up to the top of the trees. Elephants almost stampeded in their haste to get away, and birds were flapping their wings furiously to get to the sky. And bunnies scrambled into their burrows. Oh, yes. All the animals and birds were hiding or got away, except for one. Canchel the mouse deer heard the noise, and she was scared too. But she was enjoying her morning breakfast of a beautiful, sweet, juicy mango that had fallen from a magnificent mango tree onto the ground where she could reach it. Oh, and she only had 1 bite left. And so she heard the noise and she said, I'll hide after I finish this last bite. I've got plenty of time. She was licking her lips. Can you lick your lips? After a sweet, juicy mango. As she looked up to look for a place to hide. But instead, she saw not 1, not 2, but 3 huge animals staring at her. They were so big, they had orange fur with black stripes. They had big paws and sharp teeth. She knew they had sharp teeth because they were growling at her through those sharp teeth. Can you growl like a tiger? Well, Mouse Deer wanted to run away from those big, scary animals, but she was only about this big. Can you show me, boys and girls, about this big? Yeah. And how big do you think the tigers were? Yes! So she couldn't run away. So she had to use her wits. And she had to think of something else. And so she said, hello. Take me to your leader. Leader? Your Raja, your king. I have an important message for him. Message? Yes. The Raja of all tigers of Java demands that your Raja supply our tigers with food. Food like mangoes? Of course not. Tigers eat meat, not mangoes. Oh, now she was really worried because she was pretty sure she'd be meat. So she had to think of a plan. So she said, I will deliver the message for you. You could stay here in the shade. You must be tired from your journey. I will deliver the message. Very well. Be sure to tell your Raja that our Raja demands he supply our tigers with food, and if he refuses, we will wage war against your island and show him this royal whisker so that he will know we would win the war. Canchel had to walk closer to get the whisker on her skinny little... Can you use your fingers like legs? She bent down to pick it up in her tiny little mouse deer teeth. And that whisker was so long it hung out on both sides of her face quite a ways, about this far. Can you show me about this far? I will deliver the whisker and the message, she said. This was her chance to get away. Whew. She started running as fast as she could. She ran and she ran and she ran. And as she was running, she was thinking, I have to find a place to hide. I have to find a place to hide. But even if I do find a place to hide today, they will come back with more tigers and they will eat me and all my friends. This is terrible. Well, she was thinking and running and thinking, and she was so scared she almost bumped into a tree. Whoa, Canchel, why are you running so fast? She recognized that voice. It was her friend Landak the porcupine sitting on one of the branches of the tree. She couldn't answer him until she set the whisker down. She set it down on the ground and caught her breath. Can you catch your breath? And answered him, well, I'm running so fast because I have to deliver a message and a whisker. A whisker? Yes. Landak shimmied down the tree. Can you shimmy, boys and girls? They do. Second graders do. All right. Landak stood across from Canchel, and they both stared at the whisker on the ground. See how long it is? She said. It is long, he agreed. See how thick it is? It is thick. See how sharp? Landak, could I please borrow one of your quills? I don't have time to explain, but it could save many lives. Perhaps your longest one? All right. He plucked his quill, placed it on the ground next to the whisker, and she smiled and said, thank you. She picked up the quill in her tiny little mouse deer teeth. How far do you think it stuck out, boys and girls? She had to turn around and run back to those tigers, being careful not to bump the quill. And when she got there, they said, what took you so long? Well, she set it down in front of the messenger tiger, the big one. And, well, I had to go the other side of the island to ask our Raja and wait for his answer. What did he say? Oh, he said no. He will not supply you with food. What? Didn't you tell him we will wage war? Didn't you show him the royal whisker from the face of our Raja? Yes, I did. I showed him. And he laughed and laughed and laughed. And he said that he would enjoy a battle with such an insignificant opponent. He sends his whisker for you to give to your Raja. The messenger tiger looked. His eyes widened. I will deliver the message and the whisker. He picked up the quill and clenched it in his sharp tiger teeth. The three of them went back to the ocean, the Java Sea, and swam back. When they arrived at their island, raise your hand if you can remember the name of their island.
Java?
Yes, good job. When they arrived back there, the messenger reported to his leader. He placed the whisker on the ground, and when the Raja of all tigers of Java saw that, he gulped, and his eyes widened. Your Majesty, the Raja of Borneo will not supply us with food, and he would welcome a battle with an insignificant opponent. Well, I have decided Borneo is too far for us to go for food. We will demand food from the elephants of Sumatra instead. And boys and girls, that's why there are no tigers in Borneo, even to this day, thanks to Canchel, the mouse deer. But I do need to tell you something about this story, boys and girls. It's so old. The story was told so many years ago that there were tigers on Java and Bali and Sumatra. There were no tigers in Borneo, so they made up the story to explain it. But today, boys and girls, there are no tigers on the island of Java. There are no more on Bali. And the only few left on Sumatra are called an endangered species. The others are extinct. So I'm sad about that, but let's finish our story by standing up in your spot, making sure you have elbow room. Stand up, please. Okay, now, standing up, I want you to run in place like Cancel the Mouse Deer to deliver the message. Run in place on your little mouse deer legs. Oh, okay. Now, swim like the tigers. Okay. Whew. Oh, okay. Oh, what did the monkeys do? When they were scared, they climbed the tree. Oh my God, all the way to the top. Oh, can you shimmy down the trunk like the porcupine? And what about shaking the water off after your swim? Like a dog, after they get wet, they shake their fur. And flap your wings like a bird. Anyways, you could sit down now. I won't make you do the one that probably second graders would love the most, which is eat a mango off the ground. And believe me, they aren't afraid to get down on all fours. The purpose of the stretch after all of my stories is after they've been sitting, and I usually take 20 minutes, 25 minutes for a story, they need to move. And I always make the moves relate to the story. In fact, I don't even have to suggest them after the first of the year, the first two. The kids know. They are so in tune to the story, they will come up with the moves. And they love to volunteer it. So trust me, they will raise their hand and say, exactly spot on from the story. Okay, now, thank you for listening to the story. I have a video that's about 14 minutes that explains the page, and I had prepared it for an annual meeting a couple of years ago, so I didn't want to waste it. It was during COVID, and it was during Zoom, so we couldn't use it. So we're going to show that right now. All right.
Hi, I'm Karen Culver, and I've been a Spellbinder since 2001. I was fortunate to be taught and certified as a trainer by our founder, Jermaine Deach, in 2003. Here's a quote from Jermaine.
Can you hear it all right?
Spellbinders' mission is to bring storytelling in the oral tradition back as a community activity. In my first year as a storyteller, I was inundated with story suggestions and resource recommendations. Like a kid in a candy store. So many choices. Which type should I choose? This fact, explained here by folklorist Judy Sierra, helped narrow down my choices. Tales from the oral tradition have qualities that can best be described as tellable. Most literary stories, even those that are enchanting when read silently or aloud, lack tellability. Limiting my search to traditional tales made sense, but there were still thousands of tales to choose from. To save time, I needed to personalize and prioritize my search criteria. And you can too. Finding traditional tales that fit our interests, style, purpose, and audience will result in a good story, well told, each time we visit a classroom. To answer the question, where can I find good stories to tell? I recommend traditional tales. Tales from the oral tradition have been passed down through the generations by storytellers for eons. Countless storytellers, folklorists, collectors, librarians, and other scholars preserve the folktales, myths, and legends that allow us to continue the oral tradition and fulfill our mission as Spellbinders. Not only do we need to find stories that we like and are appropriate for the grade level where we volunteer, we must honor our claim that the stories meet standards and support literacy goals. Here are some excerpts relevant to traditional tales and the Common Core state standards.
That's on your handout. Page 3. Okay.
And here's an example from a second grader for the standard. Drawing scenes from an oral tale illustrate a person's interpretation of a story. This resources page on the Spellbinders website has shortcuts for searching traditional tales in libraries or online. Rather than suggesting particular stories, these 6 alliterative categories give you access to thousands of tales and steps to pinpoint those that match your interests and age level for telling. Browse folktales in the 398.2 sections of your library for traditional tales in collections or picture book format. Browse from home in the catalog, including Prospector, for books to check out or ebooks to download. Item descriptions, table of contents, reviews, and other details in the catalog entry help narrow your search. Here are some Prospector results for Pleasant Despain and Len Cabral.
Oh, I know it's hard to see. You could see this on your
Did you
computer.
know that the World Folklore Series, published by Libraries Unlimited, has more than 40 titles? And that 2 founding members of the Spellbinders Board of Directors, Norma Levo and Angel V. Hill, published 4 of them? Browse on used book websites such as Better World Books or Abe Books for traditional tales. In this result, you see a photo of the book cover, a brief description, and a link to a preview. Results may include date of publication, reviews, and other helpful information to narrow down your choices. Note the link to borrow a free digital copy from Internet Archive. If you're looking for just one affordable used book to add to your shelf at home, consider one of these multicultural collections. Or perhaps a set like Virginia Haviland's Favorite Fairy Tales series may be a good choice for you. There are 16 countries represented, each one with 5 to 7 folktales, for a total of over 100 ready-to-tell stories, perfect for primary and intermediate grades. The complete paperback set would take less than 5 inches on a shelf. Use the wish list or save for later features on used book sites to keep track of titles you may want to borrow or download from the library. Also, search by specific titles from any of the lists under number 6 on this page, which you'll see in a minute. Search by parameters that interest you, plus keywords folktales, myths, or legends. Here are a few random examples. When looking for traditional tales, don't search with the word stories. Here are 86,655 reasons why. In other words, don't search with these keywords because the categories are too broad. The term folktales is comprehensive and encompasses folk fairy tales, tall tales, fables, myths, legends, etc. However, various spellings and combinations will generate vastly different results. To save time, choose your keywords carefully and limit your search. Be sure to check this link for Joe Hayes. Most of you are familiar with professional storyteller Joe Hayes. I encourage you to use this link and watch several of his stories. Appreciate his telling style, his pacing, gestures, voices, expressions, humor, connection to listeners, and how smoothly he incorporates bilingual vocabulary and phrases. What an amazing gift he has given posterity by recording his repertoire on YouTube. Live storytelling events give you opportunities to hear professionals or fellow spellbinders. These sample links have sources with tale texts, bibliographies, and other helpful information for your search. For example, Margaret Reed McDonald's website has an amazing search feature to find individual stories by trait, values, subject, etc. This last section, number 6, lists, has 21 sample lists for traditional tale sources. I recommend skimming through all of them to get an idea of the wonderful possibilities. When you're ready to find a particular story, read through the titles and subtitles on the list of your choice, or the list that fits your search parameter. Then, narrow it down to the book or books from that list you'd like to investigate further. And finally, obtain the book digitally or physically. Let's look at 4 examples, starting with the first list on top, which has collections with cues and coaching advice for effective storytelling. These are especially helpful for beginning tellers. Here are sample pages from 2 of the books on that first list. For the same Anansi the Spider story. Here's an example by subject. Do you have an interest in astronomy? Does the class you visit study planets or constellations? In these 14 books, there are more than 250 traditional tales to choose from. Use the online search tips we've discussed to decide which one you want to obtain. It might be a hard decision. They all look amazing. Here's an example of a list by country. Perhaps you've been to Scotland or have ancestors from Scotland. Perhaps you'd like to travel there someday. Do you have or can do a Scottish accent? Whatever your reason to find a story from this country, you'll have plenty to choose from. Guess how many Scottish traditional tales are in these 30 books?
How many?
Hundreds.
If you guessed about 1,000, you'd be right. These 30 books collectively contain almost 1,000 Scottish tales. Highlands, lowlands, islands, ghosts, pipers, merfolk, just to name a few topics. And you should know that there are more Scottish collections not even on this list, not to mention Scottish tales in every Celtic collection too. Of course, some are variants of the same tale, but many are rare treasures. Don't panic. You don't need all 30 books or need to read 1,000 stories to find one. Determine which ones on the list sound interesting to you. Look them up using the steps we've discussed. Then obtain those that suit your purpose and grade levels to find a great tale to tell. By the way, a list could be generated for any country, culture, tribe, or region in the world. Aren't we fortunate to have access to such vast and varied traditional tale sources? And lucky to have tools to narrow them down for manageable results. Searching by publisher is another option. In this sample list, you see the titles for 40 beautifully illustrated multicultural tale collections published by Barefoot Books. Each title is by theme, and each book has between 6 and 8 tales. There are more than 300 traditional tales represented on this list. I hope the lists and links on this page save you time when looking for traditional tales to add to your repertoire. Thanks for being a Spellbinder.
Oh, I forgot the last one.
I'd like to thank my husband, Steve Culver, for his technical assistance in this presentation.
Yeah. Okay. All right. 2 times? It's still going. Oh. I need technical assistance. So I apologize that that this was a recording, but we spent so much time making it, I had to use it. There's so much to cover. And I've updated the page. There's now 27 lists, and I'll show you in a minute that. But what I love about the lists and links is there are so many different ways to get resources.
Lists and links on this page save you time when looking for traditional tales.
Just turn it off.
Karen, are these lists on the Spellbinders website?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you go on the website, I realize that the 27 I've chosen may not be your favorite topic. The massive amount, children's literature is zillions. And then if you narrow it down to traditional tales, it's still tens of thousands. It's like there's too much. And so you have to, I find that you need to narrow it down to the kind of stories that your age level, where you tell at school, or your comfort, or your style. Maybe it's not even traditional tales. Maybe you tell personal history stories or things like that. But narrowing down your choices when you're looking for good tales. But the reason I emphasized traditional tales, can you turn it off? The reason I emphasize traditional tales is because we say to teachers, we support literacy. We support standards. Spellbinders does this. So let's be true to our calling. And in that regard, I have an activity where I need some volunteers, 10 volunteers, in fact. Would 10 of you the first 10 that are willing to line up in front along here, I will give you an index card, and you'll just read it. So 10 people line up all the way across, and take a card, take one and pass it down. Okay? So when you look at the Colorado Academic Standards or Common Core state standards that we support, there's hundreds of pages. So, a lot of you are former teachers. You know this. Yeah. And I just took some excerpts from the ones that are the most obvious. Do we have 10? Great. Starting here, read your card. I'll give you one. Come up here. You get more. Sit right here.
Use a range of stylistic devices, for example, imagery, to engage and entertain the intended audience.
Oh, stay. You can stay up. Yeah. Oh, you can stay. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Compare and contrast the point of view for which different stories are narrated, including the difference between first and third person narrations.
I'm in my hearing.
Deliver effective oral presentations, use appropriate eye contact, adequate volume, and clear pronunciation.
Learn new information through active listening. Follow agreed upon rules for discussion. For example, gaining the floor in respectful ways, listening to others with care, speaking one at a time.
Describe the overall structure of a story, including describing how the beginning introduces the story and the ending concludes the action. Collaborate effectively as group members who listen actively and respectively. Determine the main ideas in supporting details of information presented orally.
Use appropriate eye contact and speak clearly at an understandable pace.
Everyday interactions with community members shape knowledge of language.
I don't even understand mine.
Let me give you an easier one. Okay. I've got some. Let me give you a short. There's one. How about that? You can do it. You can do it.
Collaborating in groups to explore how folk tales, myths, and fables change across cultures and time.
You did great. Okay.
Yeah, well, I just didn't understand
Okay.
them.
I know. So you're good. You're not done yet. What do I have here?
Silver platter.
Silver platter. Put it on the silver. Put your card on the silver platter, and then I want you to take a new one because you're going to have a second chance to do a good job. Put them on the silver platter.
Keep mine.
Yeah,
Look at the bottom.
No, go ahead.
At the bottom.
We'll start over there. Okay. Go ahead.
You want me to start?
Yeah, just read yours. Did you pass them down? Yeah.
Make connections between the text of a story and an oral presentation of the text, identifying where each version reflects special descriptions and directions in the text.
Interpret figures of speech, for example, mythological allusions of context.
Okay, wait. Say that one again, please. Okay.
What?
Not you.
Yeah.
Interpret figures of speech, for example, mythological allusions in context.
Compare and contrast two or more versions of the same story. For example, Cinderella stories from different cultures.
That's good.
Provide a rich variety of storytelling which encourages children's participation and exposes them to many cultures.
Determine the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in a text, including those that allude to significant characters found in mythology. For example, Hercules.
Gathering information regarding how past civilizations told their stories to understand how current societies and cultures tell stories.
Compare and contrast the treatment of similar themes and topics. For example, opposition of good and evil and patterns of events. For example, the quest. In stories, myths, and traditional literature from different cultures.
That was a long one.
Analyze how a modern work of fiction draws on themes, patterns of events, or character types from myths and traditional stories.
Recount stories, including fables, folk tales, and myths from diverse cultures.
Good. On the silver platter, please. And go back to your seats. Thank you. Give them a hand. Thank you. This is the tip of the iceberg. Some of these are directly related to the type of stories we tell, and the other examples are how we are role models of these things they want students to do in their writing or in their speaking. Now, we don't discuss standards as storytellers, but we give them on a silver platter every time we go in the classroom. Every time you tell a story, you are delivering that gift. So be proud of what you're doing. And we don't have to say a word about the standards. It's just automatic. And this is why teachers that understand what we're doing make time for us in their busy schedule to visit the classes. They can put this in their lesson plan, can't they? All right. Now, how am I doing on time? I have enough time for the PowerPoint? Perfect. But now I don't have my thing. Can you start it? The last section is going to be another example from, oh no, I don't want that. I'm going to go really fast through some. Oh, I wanted to really, thank you. I really wanted to reiterate about Joe Hayes' YouTube. Have any of you visited his YouTube site?
I've seen him.
Oh, and you've seen him in person? Have you heard? Oh. If you haven't, you don't know what you're missing. This is a professional storyteller who is just the most amazing. He has the most amazing style, his gentle way, his easygoing manner in all of his stories, and he interweaves bilingual vocabulary and phrases so naturally. It is just amazing. And so he recorded all his stories on YouTube for free. Children can watch these. I mean, you can watch them too, not just children. And there's so many. You don't have to watch them all. Just choose one. Even if you're not going to tell that story, get an idea of his storytelling style, and you might pick up some clues of some fun things you could do. Anyway, I can't say enough about him doing that and about his caliber of storytelling. All right. So we already saw this in the other video, but Margaret Reed McDonald's website is so cool. And most of you do know Margaret Reed McDonald's name because she's a folklorist and librarian and professional storyteller extraordinaire. But she has a search feature. So the reason I got into all of this is in 2015, the executive director at the time asked me to help with the Spellbinders story database of 150 stories. She wanted traits and characteristics outlined and ages. And foolishly I said, okay. I want my life back from that summer. I never used any of those stories. I thought they were not good choices, not good versions, and they were on our website. Because everybody wants them on the website so they can find a story. It took forever to go through them. They were missing sources. They were missing credit. They were violating copyright. So I said, why don't we show people how to find their own stories? Because why are we reinventing the wheel when there are more websites than the ones I just showed you that have traditional tales or any other kind of tales that you want. They are already out there. Professionals have made them. So anyway, that's why I started making lists. And she's one of them. So she has a search feature. So you can't go wrong with her. Heather Forrest, have some of you heard her tell stories? Oh, she has a website. And it's really nice and simple. She has storytelling samples, and she also has storytelling advice for beginners, or even those of us with more experience. We can learn something from her. But what was that name again? Heather Forrest. It's on your thing. This is part of the page. See, I have Margaret Reed McDonald and Heather Forrest, and now I'm going to show you Aaron Shepard. Who knows Aaron Shepard? Yes. Do you have a question?
No, I want to make a comment.
Yes.
We are taping all of the workshops, and I will ask Karen's permission to get her video so we can put it on YouTube. So you'll get a link.
Yeah. Actually, it's already on the website page because it was just under 15 minutes, so Lisa was able to put it on there.
Oh, you have your whole presentation on.
Yeah. The one from 2022. Aaron Shepard, he has a page. Now remember, I just picked 4 links, my favorite 4. There are others, but this is a place to start. And this is for Spellbinders. I was trying to find sources that would be useful for telling to school-age children. We know some folk tales aren't appropriate for children, so we don't want to mess with that. Anyway, so he has a search. I put in folk tales, and about 200 came up. Remember when I said that she asked me in 2015 to go over 150 stories? And already today you've seen like 10,000? How are we supposed to pick 150 stories? All right, so then he has all sorts of fun things. Just have fun with this page. Just have fun with it. And guess what? He has a mouse deer story. Yay! Yay! And he put on his website, you got a preview. Mouse deer is a small, and many animals want to eat him, but first they have to catch him. Mouse deer is small, excuse me. Folk tales, trickster tales, of course. Indonesian, Malaysian, wit versus power, age, length. He's got it all there for us. And you just click on if you want those stories. He has so many stories, not just mouse deer. He has so many stories. And then the list. Okay, I already did the list on the video about astronomy. So let's pretend you like animals. And in particular, you like horses. And so you happen to notice on my links, or on my list, there are 5 titles for horses. Now, this is not all of them in the whole world, but these are 5 traditional tale collections. And these together have about 100 horse folk tales. And let's pretend that you say, oh, Wonder Tales of Horses looks good to me, but I don't know if I want to spend time looking for it. So I go online to look for clues. The publication date, 1952. There's a clue, because that's the year before I was born. It's not going to be on your local library shelf. It might be out of print. But that doesn't mean you can't get it. And it doesn't mean it's not good. My favorite sources are the old ones. And it tells how many pages, 238. So I know there's going to be a lot of stories in there. It's not 16 pages. I'm not wasting my time with that. Okay, and then I found online, I found some clues. The dust jacket description on one of these used book sites or World Cat, you can look it up. Say, well, I don't know if it's out of print. I don't know if I can get it, but man, I'm reading this. And that looks really interesting to me. So now I really want to get this book somehow. Oh, I could get an e-book. See, I have folk tales from many lands. Oh, I can get it in an e-book format for free. Oh, yesterday there were 2 of these. That one was working yesterday. I apologize. And now I've tripped on it. Anyway, they have e-book. And now the crowning glory of my search for clues, which only takes 5 minutes, I found one page of the table of contents. There are 27 stories from 21 different countries, all about horses. If you don't like horses, you don't have to do this one. This is just an example. But I'm telling you, I have the book, and I have thumbed through it, and I've already decided that the 3 Enchanted Mares from France is going to be my next story. It's so cool. 27. So this might be worth your time. If you like horses and if you want to add it to your repertoire, this would be a reason to say, now I'm going to try to get that ebook. And that's what it looks like. So I'm just doing this as an example. If none of these clues interest you, if you're like, I tell to 10th grade, these are for elementary, then don't get it. But save yourself some time by narrowing it down. Here's my last example. I added some more countries. Hi, Mitch. Latin America. I have 47 titles here. 5 of them are bilingual. I've put an asterisk for those. And these 47 titles have 1,150 stories. You don't need 1,150. You don't want. You have a life. You have places to go, people to see. A life beyond spellbinders and storytelling. So pick one. Just if you are interested in something from Latin America, you were asking me, Wendy asked me, the class she was in wanted some stories from Uruguay or where?
I think it was Argentina.
Argentina. Okay, we got Pachamama tales, folklore from Argentina, right there. So as soon as she said, I need a story from Argentina, I gave her a name of a book to look. So anyway, let's just skip through these. Okay. So anyway, there, I'll leave. How am I doing on time? 5 minutes? 3 minutes?
It's 10:07.
Oh my, yes, yes. Because I want to thank you for your kind attention and ask if you have any questions. Yes.
I was wondering, given us so much information about searching for stories, how about coming up with themes for stories?
Themes for stories?
Yeah.
Like you're trying to think of some good themes?
So there's a month coming up. And you can
Oh, yeah, like St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah.
Okay.
So but do you have any tips for maybe going on beyond like the obvious?
Oh,
that you might come up with?
well, to me, the stories that I find as I'm searching for a particular one and I find 5 others that are even better, I go and tell what I want to tell. And in March, I might tell an Irish story for St. Patrick's Day. So that theme, yeah, I have some lists by theme as well. But what I'd like to do is try to choose a story that I really want to tell, no matter what the theme. In December, I can tell some secular Christmas or Hanukkah stories. In November, I do the theme of feasts or pumpkins and things like that. In October, I might do bats and spiders. And if you're careful and you are check with the teacher, you might have some scary stories. There's a list of those. But be very careful in October with scary stories because some children get very scared and we don't want to do that when there's so many other choices you can have. But I don't know if I'm answering your question. Just for me, themes that are the theme of any folktale, a good story that's well told, fits the bill. So
you might not worry about it.
I don't. I worry about having a good story that I want to tell. Go ahead.
What you'll find out is that, as one of the standards says, they will relate. The stories are going to have the same moral to them or whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what story you tell, the kids are going to find some kind of relation between them.
Mm-hmm. We have some people in Jim, do you recognize yourself here? We have several people in this room that are on my collage, by the way. That was a good question, but yeah, any other questions? I'll try to talk to you after about some more themes. Yeah.
When looking for stories for age appropriate, because times have changed.
Oh, yes.
And
Age appropriate.
schools allow you to say and not say.
Yes.
How do you be sensitive? How do you find what's appropriate for your particular age?
Okay. She asked, how do you find stories for the particular age group that you tell in, and also that our teachers are approving or parents approving or whatever issues are coming up about some stories? Is that what you said?
I haven't had a problem, but knowing that it's an acceptable.
Knowing that it's, age appropriate.
Yeah.
Another good question. So a lot of the times the publishers of folktale collections will give you an age range. And a lot of the times you have had, if you have children or you've taught or you've been around kids, you can kind of tell and judge what's appropriate or what interests certain age groups. But I will tell you that most of these lists, most of them will be appropriate for elementary school. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, you know, the Spellbinders has things first grade, second grade, third grade, that kind of stuff.
On our story list, yeah. And so that's what we tried to do when we updated the one from 2015 that was supposed to have traits and ages. We tried to do age appropriate, second grade, third grade, and so on. It's, unless the book or the author has specified that, you're going to have to use your judgment. And I always check with the teacher. you can always check with your teacher. So I see our speaker for the next one. Mitch is here for, you want to get set up, I'm sure.
I do, but I don't want to interrupt.
Well, we're wrapping up. We have 1 minute, right, Steve?
There's a 15-minute break between.
I have 3 minutes. This never happened. I must have forgotten part of the story. Did the tigers eat Cancho? I don't know. No, I know it's overwhelming to see something that's talking about thousands of resources, but I want to reiterate, you don't need all of them. You just need to find some that interest you, that are suitable for your age group. And again, you can judge on the titles and do a little bit of research to see if they show titles that look like they would be good for your age, the class you go to. I have done kindergarten, first, second, and third for 20 years, and my kindergartners, I go once a week to I used to, once a week to 5 kindergartens, once a week to 2 first grades, and twice a month to second grade in the same school with the same kids. So I had to have a lot of stories. That's why. And I couldn't repeat. I didn't want to repeat. And so the kindergartners handled these 20-minute stories beautifully. The teachers would say, oh, they have a good attention span with you. And I'm like, it's the story. It's the story.
And you're telling.
But thank you again for coming. And if you have other questions, you can ask me later in the day. I'm sorry.